On behalf of your host, Steve D, this is Bruce Buffer saying thank you for tuning in to Xtreme Lyfe. And now, this is the moment Xtreme Lyfe fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
Cool. Well, I love hearing people getting into it. It's a world I love dearly, so that's awesome. So let's talk about you a little bit. I mean, so, you're an adaptive athlete in the CrossFit Games. I mean, I don't even like to put adaptive on it. You're just an athlete in the CrossFit Games because that's the reality. I mean, you have to be at such a high level even to get there, or to be in that considered in that group of people. And I was reading some quotes, right? I read a quote that you're one of yours. I hope I don't embarrass you. But
oh no, you're good.
Playing tag with my friends at recess, and realized I got tagged because I was a lot slower. I did not enjoy gym class. I was really self-conscious, especially as I got older. That's obviously changed.
A little bit.
I mean,
it's been a transformation.
And like I said, I love that stuff because it's kind of like one of the things I really like to tell the story on is people who come from, situations which would, people can't even have the concept of the adversity. I know I can't, and I always say, that what you guys are doing is so much even more impressive than the individuals and even though they're incredibly impressive, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking them down at all. I mean, to watch somebody do a 500-pound back squat and then run a 5-minute mile, it's pretty damn amazing, right? But these are fully, in their 20s, fully able-bodied people who don't have the same adversity. And then to see somebody like you and some of the other athletes that you were competing with, it's just amazing to see that and the journey that went on with that. So tell me about the transformation from that person that I just read the statement on. And you now, I mean.
It was definitely quite the journey. I definitely didn't happen overnight. And I think for me, it wasn't even something that I was quite aware of that I needed or wanted to make. Because I honestly had a great childhood. Like, I've always had a sense of humor. My parents and support system has always been great. My parents have always told me your leg doesn't define you. You can do anything you want. Just we'll figure it out. But it's one thing having your parents say that and, your brothers and sisters, and then one thing believing it. And living it out. And so it wasn't that I was unhappy, but I very much stayed in my lane. I grew up in music, still love music, but that was kind of my world. And again, athletics, I used to tell people I'm a very unathletic person. One of the least athletic people you'll probably meet.
It
was just a thing. And I truly, truly believed that. I was just so afraid of being bad at it. And so so that was me for a long time. And then, my brother-in-law actually was one of the first. I have two brother-in-laws, but the one that entered the family first. Okay. He actually kind of called me out on a family beach trip once. And he was like, Amy, what's up? You don't have a lot of confidence. You look at the ground when you walk, you don't wear shorts, a lot of things. And I was kind of taken aback by it. I wasn't expecting him to say those things. And, I went through my usual spiel of, why I kind of lacked confidence and blamed it on the leg and a little bit of a pity party. And he just pushed back and was like, no, you actually get to decide how people perceive this. So if you feel people are perceiving you a certain way, or I was, we were talking about dating, I didn't have confidence to do that at all. Yeah. He's like, if you feel boys are responding to a certain way, it's because it's the energy that you put out. He was like, if you don't want your leg to be a big deal, then you don't make it a big deal. And it was it was hard to hear, but it was also the first time that I was I can actually change this narrative. It's not, I'm not a victim of this. It's I get to decide how to move forward. So I think from then it was just, that was in college. it definitely took a long time, but I just started doing small things. Like, I decided to start like reciting positive affirmations and just talk it like very specifically say the opposite of things that I was constantly telling myself about my worth and my body and just, how it defined me. And then I joined like a boxing gym here in Nashville. I moved to Nashville in 2015, or 2014, joined the boxing gym in 2015. And it was just like an opportunity that no one knew who I was. No one knew me as music person. No one knew me any like period. So it's just like,
you're just a
there's a
random
chance to
person
like,
in the middle of
yeah, if there's a chance to like, feel like I can walk into a room without this like preconceived notion of who and what I can do, it's now. So, I joined the boxing gym and I also started to get a new prosthesis made, which is fake leg, and just a new way of attaching it and staying active. And I told the prosthetist, I was like, I want to be more active. What do I need to do? And he told me, the changes I needed to make and like in the leg itself. And they were pretty difficult to adjust to. I like very much underestimated that process. But I did it. And it was just like things like that. That was like one thing at a time that I was like purposely making myself uncomfortable. But I actually, over time, I enjoyed it. I hated it at first.
Yeah.
And then that just like, it kept going. I was just having fun. So I started like friends of mine, a few of them were like, you should start an Instagram account and like start sharing your story. And I literally was like, well, I've never, because I have a congenital condition. So I've had it since birth. I've never actually had an amputation.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that always like gave me like a guilt complex as a kid because I was like, well, I don't want to like talk like I feel like I'm like an amputee because I'm not. And it was just like, I felt like because I don't deal with like phantom limb pain, I felt like I didn't have a place to like talk about it being a struggle. I don't know why I had that mindset, but I did. And they're like, well, just share your experience, like just come from like an educational perspective, whatever. So I started doing that. And then that just like opened up doors, but it also created this accountability because I posted like, before my social media like really, really took off, I was like posting every day for like 3 years, like growing it very, very slowly. But it created this like accountability of like, I was telling people, don't be afraid to try new things. So then I was like, well, if I want content, I should try new things.
I got to show people I live that, right? Not just saying it. Yeah.
Exactly. So like I tried rock climbing, wake surfing, skiing, like things that like terrified me before, but I was having fun with. And eventually in 2019, I started weightlifting. It's like brand new. Like I didn't know anything about anything, like not even how to put clips in a barbell. That's how new I was.
Okay.
And
I think we've all been there at one point or another.
Yes. I was just like, I was brand new baby deer on that. But I started with that. And then in 2021, an adaptive athlete on Instagram had reached out. And I'd been working out, for a couple of years at that point. And he was like, hey, like CrossFit just released adaptive divisions. You should try it. And that was something else that I was like, this scares me. This is crazy, but like, why not give it a go? And I went to my first CrossFit Games 8 months later. And so it was like, it was pretty unexpected. But yeah, it was like really... It's been a crazy ride. I'll say that. So I think like it's just been a little bit of a time at a time and not even things like I don't think I've ever like woken up and been like, oh my gosh, like I'm so different than yesterday. But like I have had moments where I'm like a different person than I was 5 years ago. But I just didn't realize what was happening, as time was going on. So yeah.
Well, you're living it, right? So you're not actually seeing it as it's happening, but then you turn around and you go, holy crap, wait a minute.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not,
very much so.
I'm not that kid anymore that was on the playground, with that lack of confidence and that, whatever it was that was dragging you down. And that, I think that's kind of the story too. When you talk about, our biggest limiter is ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is.
In any aspect. I mean, and it sounds like you had a very wise person who confronted you that first time, who gave you some like, look, knock it off. It's so you got this, this thing, you don't have, you're missing the leg, right? but you could still do a ton of things, right? And it's not like it doesn't have to define you, right? And I talk to people all the time about different things, and some of them are depression, addiction, all kinds of things, anxiety, and I always hate when someone says I am depressed, right? Because I'm like, well, let's reframe that, right? You're not depressed. You are who you are. You may suffer with it.
Yes. Yeah.
But you
absolutely.
are not it. Because if you start talking in terms of defining yourself with it, you become it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. Power of your words. It's a big thing.
Yeah. And just mindset, right? Putting yourself in the right mindset and the right frame of mind. And so how was it when I think it was 2021? First games you made, right? You said, I made it to the CrossFit Games, and you got notified right after you went through the online qualifiers and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you go through all that, and then you get notified you made the CrossFit Games, and what the heck went through your mind at that point?
Well, if I'm being honest, so that first year was kind of like crazy for multiple reasons, but they actually didn't know if they were going to host adaptive divisions because there's just so many like factors that go into it. And it was so new. So I started and I thought for sure if we kept going, then we'd be able to go. So I was like waiting for the invite. And then there was like kind of talk through the grapevine that I was having adaptive athletes reach out, and people had messaged me and said, hey, we're actually not going this year. They're not ready for it. And so we just got an email saying it's not happening. So I was super upset. And I like posted something, like my Instagram account was not the following that it is now, but I posted something. I don't even know if CrossFit ever saw it. Like it was just, but I posted something that I was like, this is why I think the games should be like, you should host this, but like, thank you so much for like having this be a thing. And I like listed all the points, whatever. And like, people shared it for me and all that good stuff. Yeah. But again, I didn't hear anything. So I was like, well, like that didn't change their minds. Don't get me wrong. But I was just like, whatever, like I was under the impression that it was done. But then 6 weeks before the games, like second week of June, something like that.
Not a whole heck of a lot of time.
Yeah. I was like under the mindset, we're not going. I was drinking a margarita on the beach. And I opened my email and it said, you're going to the CrossFit Games. And I looked at my friend, I was like, holy crap, I gotta stop drinking this margarita.
I gotta go to a gym right now.
Yeah. It was very, very surreal. And I mean, at that point, like I was so new. I didn't like, it was then that I was like, do we swim? Like I hadn't swam since high school. Like everything was new. And so I like went home, got a membership. So I dropped myself in a pool. I was like, you got 6 weeks to figure all this stuff out. And it was crazy. Like, yeah.
I can't even imagine because the nerves must have been just like through the roof and kind of like, this is crazy. This is totally outside of anything I thought I'd be doing.
Oh yeah. The imposter syndrome was real. I had to mute like every account. I had to mute all the adaptive athletes I had like met CrossFit Games because all the posts I saw, and obviously now being in the sport, I understand it much more now, but everyone's posting, they've trained for years and they feel ready and excited. And like, no one is saying they're nervous. Of course, like you don't want your competition to see that, but like the weeks leading up, like everyone
reality is
a little terrified. Yeah. But everyone's just like, let's go. And I was like, no one's going to say they're terrified because I am terrified. And like, I just had to like stay away from it all. And, it was definitely not an easy week, but that was a really good experience. So,
yeah. And it's just like amazing that you from where you came and to where you got to, and then now you've been there 3 times.
Yeah. So
now you've been to the games 3 times. I mean, I've seen you in person a couple of times there. It's just amazing to watch you guys do your thing. I mean, I love, getting in there and kind of trying to support that and, watching you guys just do amazing things. And, how is it now? Like, is it still the same? Like, because it's 3 times now. Do you still get that same or you're kind of like, I'm a vet now, I know what I'm doing?
I definitely have more confidence. I would say like, from an emotional standpoint for me, I've grown a lot as an athlete. Even my mom, my sweet mom, this year, she was like, I can see even like, obviously, like you have physical changes, you've gotten stronger, you're doing skills, you know, like you practice, you're going to be better. Every athlete is better every year, or they shouldn't be going, you know?
Yeah.
But, she's like, but you compose yourself better. She's like, you don't have, like, if something goes wrong, you're not panicking. Like I used to very visibly do that. I don't have my emotion well. But she was like, you just handle yourself better on the competition floor. Also my moments, obviously, but, so I definitely feel, and I also, it feels very different going into it, knowing what it's going to be like, not the workouts at all, but just, you know, the feelings that you're going to feel regardless of how much you've prepared.
Yeah.
So that's definitely easier. And, obviously, like, you know, I'm much used to the schedule of things and how you feel physically and all of those, you know, lovely parts of it all. So I wouldn't say I'm like, oh yeah, I figured it out, but I'm able to navigate it a lot better than that first year.
Yeah, you have knowledge of how it's going to be, right? It's like, I think the first year you're kind of like, everything's different. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how you don't even know how they're going to treat you, right?
Yeah.
You don't even know what's going to, you know, because some events, hey, I'll tell you, they you know, and I know CrossFit isn't like this. CrossFit tends to treat their athletes pretty good for the most part, but But, you know, I know there's some that's like you're treated like almost like cattle. You're herded around and
Then,
you know, you don't even know. Oh, there goes my dogs. They're going crazy.
You're good.
Yeah, I have a shepherd and a bulldog. And anything outside they're gonna bark at.
It's okay. I have a shepherd mix and he's laying right next to me right here. So look at that.
Hang on, let me just shut my door real quick. So it's
you're good.
Neighbor's probably outside washing his car or something, but you know,
the usual things that scare them the most.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I said to somebody the other day, can you imagine if people were like that? Like anytime someone's outside your house, you're like, hey. I've seen like a few Instagram videos of like people pretending like that would be the case and be like, can you imagine? And it's always fun to watch. They're funny. So you know, it's interesting though, the evolution, right? That you go through. Cause like I said, the first year you have no idea how they're going to treat you. You have no idea what to expect. You don't know what the schedule is going to be like. I mean, you can kind of go back in previous years and watch the individuals and say, okay, we're going to be doing several workouts a day. We're going to be kind of move through. I think and to be honest with you, you know, I've been involved with CrossFit since 2011. Right. So it's been a long time. I think it was the first year they did the online qualifier, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was the first year they did it. And it was 7 minutes of burpees to that was one of the first workout was 7 minutes of as many burpees as possible to a target. Right. And it sucked. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was so miserable. It's like, what I'm talking about, laying on the ground trying to breathe. But you know, it's one of those things where it's even CrossFit has evolved and changed, and so many things have happened just the way they do it. And they're still trying to learn. I think they're still trying to figure it out because there's changes coming every year. Every year they announce new changes and new things and how they're going to structure it. You know, which is sometimes hard. You know, because sometimes I'm like, why are they changing it again? You know,
but we just settled.
We just got used to this. You know. But you know, I think it's just part of the evolution, and you know, even the fact that they're not going to be in Madison next year. They've been in Madison for 6 years.
That's going to feel very different.
Yeah, I mean, your whole experience has been in Madison, right? So, you know, back in the Carson days, you know, Carson, California. You know, that was a little different, and you know, they changed, and when they came to Madison, it was like that was only supposed to be about 3 years, I think, originally. Like they only signed a 3-year contract, but because of everything that happened over the last few years, it kind of extended everything out, and you know, now they're finally moving. But everybody's speculating where they're moving to. Any thoughts on that? What do you think?
Oh, I honestly have no idea. I've heard a couple. I mean, I've heard Florida, which would honestly be miserable in August. So selfishly, I hope it's not that.
Yeah.
I've heard like maybe East Tennessee, which that would be convenient for me. But I don't know. I feel like what made Madison. I mean, the weather was great in Madison. Everyone this year even was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot," and I was like, this is dry heat, kids. Like, this is fine.
Isn't bad.
Like,
yeah, this is Midwest.
no, yeah, I was like, this is nice. Like, y'all come to Nashville in the summer and you won't be saying the same thing. But yeah, so I think what part of what made Madison, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I fell over.
Yeah, besides what made like the city itself, the weather, but like it's pretty open. There's not a whole lot going on other than it's like a college town, which like that made it kind of doable because it's gotten so big. Like you go out to eat. If you go out to eat at all that week, you're like, why are there a bunch of like jacked people in tank tops walking around? You know, like
I remember the first year in Madison, it was like everybody showed up in Madison, and Madison did not know what to do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Madison was just like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. All these incredibly fit people just showed up in town.
Exactly. So it's funny because people will name some like bigger cities, and I've had even a few people be like, come to Nashville. And I'm like, it would be miserable having it here because it's such a big city, like traffic and everything. It's like, oh my gosh, it would disrupt everything. Like I think it's going to be somewhere that's like kind of small town or mid-sized with a lot of space. So we'll see. I don't know.
Well, I heard talk about Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I heard talk about that.
That'd be cool.
That would be interesting. I mean, I think because Austin's one of those, it's an up and coming city, but it's
Austin and Nashville are often compared to each other as far as like the feel of the city.
Yeah. So they're kind of relaxed, but they're still a city and they're still moving, right? So it's kind of like
I could see that.
So, there's that. Somebody said something about Dallas. Everybody's speculating. I'm talking to everybody, getting people's opinions on where do you think it's going to be? And, I don't know who's right. Of course, Castro isn't given any clues on it at all, other than the fact that it's going to be in the United States.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
we know that because
I think he's going to hold on to that.
Conference. He said that during the press conference that they're not ready to move it out of the country yet. So
no, that would be pretty intense. That would be a big mistake.
They would lose a lot of their fan base.
Yeah.
Because even the regionals outside of the country are not as filled, so to speak.
Yeah, not as populated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that would be I think the attendance would go way down just because of practicality, just like logistically getting there. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it would be a tough thing, but but who knows? Wherever it is, I'm sure we'll all go.
Yeah, we'll figure it out some way. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you compete in that Wodapalooza too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've competed the last 2 years. We'll see. The qualifier this year is right over. Like literally, it's a weekend that I'm already competing in Australia.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works logistically. I won't be able to do the qualifier workouts at that time, so I have to ask if there's an alternate way or anything. But we'll see. But I have done it for the last 2 years, though, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always like Wodapalooza. It's a cool event. I don't really care for Miami too much, but
no, Miami itself isn't my city for sure. Yeah. But it's just, I think the feeling of the competition size, it's funny because like the CrossFit Games from an athlete perspective, it's obviously the end all be all, like that's what everyone strives for, but it's also by far the most stressful and intense. It's like when you go to other competitions or Wodapalooza, it feels like, I think the fact that my first one was the games, like when I went to Wodapalooza, I was almost like shocked because I was like, and really I did multiple competitions that year. It was just like, this is so chill. Like everyone was like having fun, like they're competing, but it's not like,
why isn't everybody all stressed out?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, obviously, like I always, appreciate what the games has to offer and everything like that, but it's nice to do the other competitions too. And literally just feel like you're having fun. So,
like you said, the games is the end all be all. That's what everybody's working towards. That's what everybody's trying to get to. If you make it to the games, I mean, you are already in that, I would say the last person in the games is still fitter than everybody else.
That's very true. Yeah.
So if you're the person who comes in last at the games, you are still more fit than most people on earth.
Yes, exactly. Very true.
That's a pretty good accomplishment. Is there any particular movement that you, without giving too much away, I guess, that you kind of see when it gets programmed, you're like, oh shit, this is not what I wanted.
So like real honestly, like strongman stuff is really hard for me. Like sled pushes, sandbag carries, those things, just because of the imbalance, like my right leg can't do much. So if it's just like grunt work and there's not so much, like there is strategy to it for sure, but there's not a whole lot of skill you can bring to
Not
it.
technique. It's more or less just grind.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do not thrive in those things.
That's not your
So
thing. The
not my thing.
grind.
No.
Yeah.
No, when it just especially and so much of those workouts are also like very much lower body focused. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just not my thing.
Yeah. So it's
But
not
yeah.
really something you're gonna now. Do you have different prosthetics
Mhm.
that you use for different types of events or
I do, yeah. And
okay.
that's actually one of the hardest things at the games to decide because I have three. I have the one that I usually have. It's called an X3. And it's like, it's more for like everyday activity. And
Mhm.
I have another leg that is for like heavy lifting and for like, if you're an amputee, you can also use it for snow sports and water sports. But it's like, it's terrible to walk on because it's like heavy and clunky,
Yeah.
and like the ankle will give out. But if you're heavy lifting, the knee has like it provides more support, like getting out of like a squat
Yeah.
or a deadlift, something like that. And then I have a running blade, which is much lighter. And people have seen, that's what people, when they think of prosthetics, that's kind of what
They think
they
of the
like, an
blade, right? When
athlete.
they think of an athlete. Yeah.
Exactly.
I used to
Yeah.
I used to
So
call them the skis
yeah,
for some
exactly.
reason.
Yeah.
I used to call them the skis.
So exactly. They look like that.
Yeah.
But I think one of the tricks of the games with the programming that they do, a lot of times they'll pair together movements that like one movement would be good for one leg and the next
Mm.
movement is not. So a lot of honestly like frustration in the past has just been like I have to decide what to sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah. Where
For
where
lack
am
of
I
it, like
gonna lose a little bit? Yeah.
yeah, especially that was a little better this year, I will say that. But like last year, it was almost every single event that they would have us like run up and down the field. So I felt like to have any shot at all, I like to win an event or do well, I'd need to put on my running blade. But I was doing heavy sandbag carries and sled pushes with the running blade, and a knee gives out on that super easily. So
Yeah.
like any support that a prosthesis would have was like completely taken out.
So
So
it's
like that
more.
was those are the things that are frustrating about competitions like that because you're like this isn't a mindset or an athletic perspective. It's
Yeah.
literally just an equipment issue. So
Has anybody
those are the
ever
harder things.
has
Mhm.
anybody ever reached out to you, like any of the manufacturers of these items, these
Mhm.
prosthetics that, to try to get your input on something that might work for multiple events or something might work for, you know what I mean? To get like an idea, maybe
Um
some way you could like, sometimes athletes will take off their lifters and put on running shoes, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
is
yeah.
there a way to kind of do that with some of those things?
I would say not not so much, but I will say like the after year one, the person who makes BioAdapt my lifting leg reached out to me and he was
Okay.
like, "Hey, he's actually a Paralympian. He lost his limb himself and was frustrated with like what was on the market to do available to help him do the activities he liked. Like he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
these aren't good for them, so I'm going to build my own." And he sells that now, and a lot of amputees use it. So he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, I watched you at the games this year. You should get this leg because it's going to help you a lot in future years." And he was right. So I like applied for some grants to help get it covered because any extra legs like that aren't covered by insurance.
Yeah, they look at it as like
And
a convenience or something, right? Or
yeah,
it's
yeah, it's not
totally ridiculous.
necessary.
Totally
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah, insurance is like the worst thing ever. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I did get the leg and started using it a few months later. So
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome. I mean,
yeah.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
just love your story so much. I love the coming from where you came from and rising above it and the resilience there to me. And I
Yeah.
hope I don't
Well,
embarrass
thank
you by
you.
saying that. I just think the resilience.
No, no, I mean, it's always encouraging to hear. It's definitely been, yeah, like it hasn't been an easy journey, but it's definitely been very, very rewarding. So,
Been your
yeah.
journey. It's been your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
You got to own it, right? It's
Yeah.
mine. I own it, and you inspire people. So I think that's
Yeah.
great. I think inspiring people to be something. I read somewhere that you had commented that you don't want young girls, I think, to look up to you and say that they can never get to, you want to inspire them, but you don't want to inspire them in a way that they could never feel like they can get to where you are.
Yeah. No, I still very much hold that opinion of, I think one of the, like, I've personally found so many positives as much as there are negatives about social media, because obviously you don't grow up finding people with one leg a lot. So I grew up feeling very isolated, and honestly, like, pretty unaware of how isolated I was until I met people that have amputations. And I just felt that feeling for the first time of, like, you can speak my language. Like, no one had ever been able to, like, describe how it felt like it feels to take a step ever, until I, like, talked to that. And I was 24 when I had that conversation. So I think, getting on social media and being able to meet and have those conversations more and more often has been great. And then I'm just, some people are like, I mean, I'm not afraid to look like a fool or, like, make fun of myself or whatever on social media.
Everybody
but
does.
I think it's, and I just think that it's important. It's more important to be relatable and real because of that reason. And it's not like, obviously, like, I love the videos and photos that people take that make me feel like a badass. Like, I'm not going to lie. I love those things, but I also
I'll send you some. I have a few. I'm gonna attach some to this interview.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
But yeah, I shot a lot of different stuff. I'll be going through. I took 15,000 photos while I was there.
15,000?
Yes.
Holy smokes. Wow. That's impressive.
Well,
no wonder. I mean,
I don't think I think that's probably close to what everybody else was shooting too. I mean, I was talking to some people from Chalk Talk, from Morning Chalk up, they're all shooting. I mean, we're all firing.
Immediate. Yeah. Of course.
So it's 10 shots in a row, so every time you pull that trigger, it's shooting, but, so it's really easy to build up.
And I mean, I love all of that. It just, I want to be relatable, and I want a little girl, like I was, to be able to see a video and be like, I want to do that too. I can do that. And, see how, like, the steps I took to get there so they can do the same.
When was the first time you kind of realized, and I'm going kind of backwards a little bit, I guess, and I just want to kind of capture this. And when was the first time you realized that you were a little bit different than everybody else?
I think there were moments in school that I knew of just, honestly, like tag, like things like that on the playground where I'm like, I'm always getting tagged. When it was time for us to do, like, just moments that stick out to me of, like, kids that were definitely, their intention wasn't malicious, but they were curious, and they were my classmates. So little things like kids used to say, like, I hurt my leg, so I have to walk like you. And like things like that, of course they don't get it. Like, they're trying to be like, me too. Like,
but kids don't have filters. They don't have the filters other people have, They just say it,
But I'm, like, not watching myself walk. And especially when I was a kid, I refused to watch any videos of me walk. So it wasn't even in my mind that it was that noticeable. So, like, those things would definitely draw attention. When it was time to learn how to swim, my mom, like, it was second grade, we were starting swim classes. I told my mom that I wanted to do it with the class. And so she got permission from the school to come in, bring an old prosthesis that I had, and show it to my classmates to basically be like, don't lose your mind. Your friend is going to take her leg off in front of you. And, like, it's okay to be curious, but try not to stare. And, like, those conversations were like, okay, like, this is a thing. So other than that, though, like, I didn't really have, like, middle school was definitely when that kind of stuff started to hit home for sure.
Where people, and that's the thing. Kids go through a couple different stages, right? They go through that no filter stage where they just say off the wall stuff that nobody else can say in their right mind, and then somewhere along the line they get a little bit cruel and teasing and bullying in some ways. Because and I speak from experience. I was bullied in school when I was a kid too, and it was just there's a lot of that stuff happens, but. And
thankfully for me, I wouldn't say that I was full out bullied at all. Like, I I never felt that way.
Yeah.
What I did feel, it was more like kids. I'm sure people said jokes and things when I wasn't around. I'm sure that happened, but to my face, it was more just an unawareness where people would assume that I was okay with certain jokes. And again, they weren't like pointing at me and making fun to make me feel bad. They were just saying things that they thought that I was okay with, that and I would pretend like I was okay with it, but internally I was like very upset.
Yeah.
So
crush you inside, but you kept that brave face on and kind of muscled through it. You know, and no, I mean, like I said, it's an amazing story. And now you're going to be a scuba diver, which I think is awesome.
I mean, next phase, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking in my head now, I'm like, what kind of prosthetic would work? You know, do they make one with a fin on it that you can use?
They do apparently. So I've had that question a couple of times, but I personally don't really see that being a thing for me, only because like you can have the best equipment in the world, but a lot of prosthetics and the way they work come down to your socket and your residual limb. So like, I think you had the chance to meet Lauren. She was the other above knee amputee at the games, and she did every workout without her leg because her hip is fused, and the residual limb and like that attachment when she puts her prosthesis on limits her mobility and her range of motion to the point where the leg doesn't help. And so she could have the best knee prosthetic in the world, but her residual limb and her socket itself is inhibiting her from being able to like use the leg to its full potential. And that's the stuff that people don't usually understand. So for me, my limb is so short, and like the amount of room that I have to suction, like as soon as I would get in the water, that suction would break. But even if I had a belt, because I do that if I wake surf, I'll have a belt, so if I fall in the water, it doesn't fall off. The limb is so short, the amount of energy it would take to like move the entire leg up and down is not helping at that point. It's causing more of a hindrance.
It's more of
so so today, like what they did, they actually gave me like hand fin, or not fins, but like webbed gloves. So I went with one fin and then like webbed gloves, and the instructor just had to get used to not being as close to me as she was used to, because I kept whacking her.
Because that's what they said.
Usually you're not.
You're normally this is not what you're doing, right? Normally, you know, I mean, I know most are just, you know, this is how you're doing it, right? Keep everything in and just tight and but you know, you have to make adaptions, right? There has to be adaptions in that. And, you know, I mean, you know, just having I'm assuming you just took the leg off and didn't even use it, right? You just kind of had no.
No, I just went without. And I thought that balance would be more of an issue, but it really wasn't. Like there are times when I wasn't in like, you know, when I wasn't super buoyant, that like I would start to like flip around, but then, you know, if I was right side up, but as soon as it was time to actually start swimming, and it was fine. So,
well, you know, I could tell you, I dive a few different ways. I dive side mount doubles sometimes. Like I'll dive, you've probably seen those where you dive in tech diving kind of style.
Oh yeah.
So I'll dive side mount doubles, or I'll dive the back mount. And, you know, sometimes I'll dive just one tank on the side. And, you know, it's kind of, it doesn't, you know, people would think it would cause you to be off balance, but when you're in the water, sometimes, I mean, your lungs are your best buoyancy control device.
Yeah.
Way better than your BC. Way better than your BC. So, you know, and that's why, you know, you see new divers a lot of times have a difficult time getting down, getting, you know, and have to put on a ton of weight to sink. And then later on, after diving for a while, they really don't need that much weight anymore, because they're more relaxed. They're not breathing heavy. Their sympathetic nervous system hasn't kicked in, and they're not, you know, they're not moving around as much, and they're not breathing as deep you know, so, because when you fill your lungs full of air, you can't sink.
That makes so much sense, because I definitely am that person.
Like, well, I mean, everybody is at first.
Like pull me down.
Everybody is at first. That's not just you. That's everybody. And then, you know, like I said, that's why sometimes I'll be out and I dive a steel tank a lot of times. And if I dive a steel tank, I don't use any weight at all. And it's just because, like I said, I've been diving for a long time. I know that if I just drain my lungs and I breathe the right way, once you get past that first 5 feet,
then it's fine.
You know, it's just getting down past that first 5 feet.
For sure.
So, you know, and it's going to be awesome to see what you do with that. I think you're going to love it. Good luck in Australia. I think you're going to have a great time. You dive in the reef, the barrier reef.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
to get all the details worked out, but that's what I've been told to do.
All right.
So,
well, yeah, it's one of those bucket list dives. We just did a Socorro. I don't know if you're familiar with Socorro, but if you look up Socorro, we do a lot of liveaboards. So our trips are usually on a liveaboard. We don't come off the boat. We literally stay on the boat for whatever amount of time we're out.
Wow.
You have to fly into Mexico. Then you take a 18-hour water crossing over to Socorro. And then you do some diving there. Then you do this place called Roca Partida, which means parted rock. And basically, it's just a big rock in the middle of the ocean. It's 36 hours to get there by boat. It's one of the most desolate live dive locations on Earth, but it's a volcano in the middle of the ocean. So it's pretty cool. A lot of sharks, very sharky water, whale sharks, all kinds of stuff out there, which is a lot of fun to play with.
That would be insane.
So you're at the beginning of a very interesting journey there. So I think, I think you're going to love it. So keep with it.
Thanks.
Keep with it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. Thank you so much for taking the time today to come on.
Of course.
Is there anywhere, I know you got your Instagram page, which is One Leg to Stand On, right? I think.
Yeah.
Is that
One leg to stand on? Yeah, all written out like words, like not the number one. And then same thing on TikTok. I have like a website with information because if I'll do I'm doing much more like speaking engagements and blogs, all that good stuff. It's just amybream.com, or you can go to onelegtostandon.com. It will also send you there. But for like updates on more like information like that, that would be my website. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, awesome. I wanted to make sure, and I'll put that in with the comment section when I post. That way people know how to find you. And I think it's going to be awesome. I look forward to seeing you again at the CrossFit Games next year.
Yeah,
that is the plan, right?
And I'll update you on the diving situation as well.
Definitely update me, and I'll send you over some stuff you can check out what we're doing and see if it's something you might be interested in. I love taking people out to do some of these dives.
Honestly, I might take you up on that. So I would love that. But
we have a great time. We have a great group of people. We have a great time. The crew on the Dolphin Dream is amazing. That's the boat we go out to Tiger Beach on. And we have something called Tutu Tuesday, where everybody dives in tutus.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
So just picture a bunch of
that's so much fun.
Picture 9 to 10 people down underwater with sharks around, tiger sharks all over the place wearing tutus. Yeah,
that's amazing. Oh, I love that.
And if you think that's bad, you should see Thong Thursday. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, listen, you know what? It's been a pleasure. I'm glad we took the time to do the talk, and I enjoyed learning more about you and your journey, and I look forward to seeing you and hopefully have you on again.
Yeah, that'd be
next
great.
Year I'll come out, and make sure I get even more shots of you. So
yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. That really means a lot, and thank you so much for having me on tonight.
No worries, anytime. All right, so you be good and have a great night, and I'll let you know when it's going to be up. Okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you. Amy, be good.
Thank you. Bye.